What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Stretch and Grow, where I like to say the primary goal of this channel is to help everyday busy people relieve stress, pain, and anxiety in less time than a coffee break. My name is Lou. I'm a massage practitioner and certified personal trainer. And in this video, I wanted to share a little bit about myself. And I wanted to talk about anxiety, triggers, and trauma. And I read an interesting stat on ChatGPT of all sources recently that 19% of Americans suffer from anxiety disorders. And it was really interesting to see that it was that many people. So if there's 350 million people, what's that about? About 80 million people suffer with anxiety disorders. And a lot of it has to do with what happened in the year 2020 with COVID, people being stuck in the house. And I understand all that. But as a massage therapist for 5 years, and the amount of clients I saw that suffered from anxiety and triggers and trauma, I say that's always been the case as of at least recently, as at least during the technology age. What do I mean by that? So let me tell you a little bit about my background. Let me talk to you about before COVID. So let's go February 2020. What my schedule was like. So I was a personal trainer and massage therapist at the time. I'm no longer a licensed massage therapist. I call myself a massage practitioner. But at the time, this was my schedule. So Monday through Friday. So at the time, I worked for two gyms. One gym was 15 minutes away from my house, and then another gym was about an hour away. Now, I kept that hidden from both gyms because there's like a no compete clause. So I was always worried about them to finding out that I was working for both gyms and then getting fired. But at the time, this is my schedule. Used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. My first client would be at 5 a.m. So I would get to that gym, the first gym, and I would work from 5 a.m. to usually about noon. So I would work for 7 hours straight, and all of this was booked clientele. So I would see anywhere from 7 to 12 clients, depending on whether it's a half-hour session or an hour session, right? So at 12 o'clock, I would get off, walk back home, eat something, take about an hour and a half nap, and then I was off to the city. And I was back at another gym from 5 p.m. to about 9 p.m. Get home around 10:30, go to sleep at around 11, and again, wake up at 4. And I did this Monday through Friday. So I was training a lot. The other thing I was doing on Saturdays and Sunday was I would still work at the first gym, the gym that was close by my house, from like 7 a.m. to around 10:30 to 11. And then I would have massage clients in the evening. Now, the reason why I did this was, yes, I loved the money. At the time, I was really, before COVID, I was obsessed with trying to get the dollar. I had this grind mindset, hustle, hustle, hustle. At the time, I was watching all of these, motivational YouTube videos. You need to get after it. And I did this for a long period of time. But then all of a sudden, COVID hit and everything was shut down. I mean, everything. So I remember the date, March 16th, 2020. Both gyms shut down. Massage practice pretty much crumbled because clients didn't want to be touched. And now I don't know where I'm going to get my next dollar, right? Now, at the time, I did have about 7 or 8 months worth of money saved up to put to the side just in case. But not knowing where you're going to get your next dollar gave me a lot of anxiety. And on top of that, not being able to do anything gave me a lot of anxiety. So at the time, I kept myself so busy because I knew I had this anxiety problem. I was into these self-development books and they were all about fake it till you make it. So I was really good as a trainer. I was really good at putting this mask on. I knew how to smile. I knew how to talk. I had these phrases I would say. I would have these affirmations. I knew how to boost up my confidence in instance. But if you ever gave me a moment alone, this emptiness would come inside of me. Like I would feel this emptiness and these feelings, these negative feelings that I would always just push down. You know, and I know a lot of it stems from when I was a kid, and you push away a lot of things. And I had a great childhood, by the way. But we all, now that I'm studying trauma, we all have trauma. We all have triggers that we've experienced. So, going back to 2020, a lot of anxiety. And I used to think it's because of these outside forces is what's causing my anxiety. Mind you, I wasn't afraid of COVID at all, but I was afraid of where am I going to get my next dollar? Am I going to have to dip into my savings? And lucky for me, at the time they passed some unemployment checks, and for me at the time I was getting $1,100 a week to do nothing. Now I wasn't. That's not as much as I was making before. Nowhere, I was not. It's not as much as I was making before, but it was enough to cover my expenses to where I didn't have to dip into my savings. So I was comfortable. And now I had all of this free time. And I remember thinking to myself, now that I have all this free time, I could work on everything that I said I was going to work on, like a YouTube channel, growing a social media fan base, and all of that. However, with all of this free time, all of these suppressed emotions started to bubble up. Like these things started to come up, and I used to have these weird panic attacks. And mind you, nothing outside is causing it. It was just inside of me. And I was starting to freak out. And I started to realize that things outside of me isn't causing anxiety. They might trigger anxiety, but I am an anxious person. My favorite spiritual author is Michael Singer, and he has this quote. He says, "The moment in front of you can't bother you. You are bothering yourself about the moment in front of you." And I found that I bothered myself a lot. So what did I do about this? Of course, I did some more research, and I started getting into the works of Michael Singer, David Hawkins. There's another book I'm read. It was called Emotional Clearing. And one of the things they were saying is that we do one of two things when we feel these feelings. We either suppress it or we express it. And believe it or not, both are wrong. So let me explain. Let's start with suppression. So me, I used to suppress things. Say if I started to feel weird feelings, weird sensations I didn't want to feel, I would go do something. I would try to escape it, put on some music, find a motivational YouTube video, read a book, watch a movie, anything to distract myself from the feeling. Now, what's wrong with that is that emotion wants to be experienced. It wants to come up, right? And what I was doing was, and which most people do, we suppress it, we push it down. And there's a saying, what you resist persists. So the harder you push something down, the harder it's going to come back up. And it's going to come back up in some triggers. Because the emotion itself wants to be released. It wants to do what it's supposed to do. It wants to be experienced. But your subconscious mind and your body, what it's trying to do is it's trying to protect you from feeling that sensation. And the subconscious mind and the body is all about the right now, like instant gratification. It wants to feel good now. It wants to feel good now and avoid pain. So anytime you feel a painful sensation, it wants to resist it. It wants to push it away. But again, when you push things away, and I was very good at that, you're just pushing it down. It's going to come back up harder. The other thing we do is we express it. Now, I used to think this was a good thing. I used to do all of these classes, these self-development seminars on expression. I remember one seminar they used to, whoever hurt you, pretend, they would have a person play that person. You would have to tell them how they made you feel during that time from when you were 7 years old. And doing this in the moment, it does feel good. But what expression is, it's just a way to make yourself feel better. It's just a way so that you don't feel that certain emotion. What do I mean by this? Let's say I'm angry and I want to scream at somebody. The only reason why I'm screaming at somebody is because I don't want to feel the anger. So I'm trying to make myself feel better by screaming at somebody. And what happens is expression, you're just dumping your load on somebody else, but in the long run, you're not, what you're doing is you're giving that emotion, that sensation more power. So when I was reading this, I was fascinated. Suppression, expression, both are bad. We live in the age of expression. You see people do protests and they feel like they need to express themselves, and they do all these rallies and stuff. And you often find that people that attend all of these things, they often get angrier and angrier and angrier because they're expressing their anger, right? So what should you do? Well, according to these books, what you should do is just experience it. You don't have to do anything about it. What do I mean by that? Sit with it. So what often happens is when you experience a sensation, let's say a bad feeling comes up, there's a sensation that happens. A chemical is released in the brain and you start to feel it somewhere. What you should do, or what I recommend you do, is you observe it and you see where it is and you pay attention. Like me, it's always my neck. I tend to clench my jaw a lot. Like even right now, because I'm a little bit anxious, I'm a little bit nervous talking about this, because I'm usually not comfortable talking to the camera. I could feel my neck kind of clenching up. So what should I do? I should just feel it, breathe into it, and relax. And most of us don't know how to relax. And the easiest way I found to relax is not to logically think about it. Some of us like to visualize a pond tree or whatever, a beach. We do these guided meditations. I used to love that. Guided meditations. What I found also, that's just an escape from what you're feeling. That's like, getting out of the water and it's like rocky and there's like all this, things happening in the waves and these currents are like smashing into each other. And that's like you coming outside of the water and saying, I'm visualizing calm. I'm visualizing calm. And you open your eyes and it's not working. You're not gonna calm the current down by visualizing. What you have to do is relax and take out the trigger, pull out the trauma. And how do you do that? You observe it. You pay attention to it. All of our blockages are just that, blockages, blocked emotions that we didn't get to experience. We either suppressed it or we tried expressing it. Okay? So the easiest way I found to do this is through stretching, going through the body. And the more I relax my body, so like this channel, like I do a lot of stretches, I focus on it a lot. It has nothing to do with flexibility. Because especially on my Instagram page where I have 100,000 followers, people often say, how do you do a split? Or what's the best stretches for this? And like, that's not the purpose of the channel. On top of that, I'm not that flexible. I don't know if some of you guys see, I'm not the most mobile person. Never was. What I use these stretches for is to relieve pain, relieve stress, but mostly for me is to release anxiety, learning how to relax. So I do these stretches to help ground myself for when the moment happens where I go out into the world and something hits a trigger and I start to feel the sensation. I don't react to it. I feel it and I relax into it. I was gonna say shit. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it sucks. It hurts. But the only way for it to be released is to go through the pain. So I found by doing these stretches, help train myself for real life. From when things don't go my way, I learn how to relax into it. This channel is all about relaxation. It's all about letting go. It's all about releasing. It's about going with the flow of life. It's about letting it go, letting the work come through you, as opposed to trying more and more, trying harder. And that's what I was before 2020. I was a person that really tried. And I found the harder I tried to get something, the further, it was like whatever I wanted sensed that I was needy. and it would just move away from me. And I learned that a lot in relationships. Like, the more you want the girl, the more you want the guy, the harder you try, the more they're like, ew, you're gross, like, ew, right? So this channel is all about relaxation, all about releasing. It's all about letting go. And right now I'm currently working on an anxiety release breakthrough program. And it's all about this. The program I have in mind is I'm working on. It's 4 weeks long, 4 weeks of stretches, 5 days a week, and you're going to be focusing on sensations through the body, what you experience. And believe it or not, when I first started doing this work, started really diving into these stretches and trying to let go, I want to say my anxiety got worse the first week or two, but it didn't. What I noticed is I realized how anxious I actually was. Because before I used to keep myself so busy, it was like it was background noise. It was like my anxiety was always there. It's like right now if I pay attention, like I could hear like air condition at another house right now. It's going off. Now the air conditioning noise was always there. I just wasn't paying attention to it. That's how my anxiety was in the past. Like it was always there. I would just ignore it until it would bubble up and I would just have these crazy panic attacks. But now what I realized was I was always anxious. And it was in the background. I kept pushing it away. So the first week I felt like I was just getting worse. It's kind of like meditating too. When I first really started meditating, I used to think I couldn't meditate. And then my clients used to tell me that all the time. I can't meditate. When I sit down, they used to say that my mind just doesn't stop talking. It gets worse. And I'm like, that's a lie. You're just aware now how bad your mind actually is. So this is what this program that I'm working on is about. It's going to take me some time to put together. I'm really doing my research, figuring out where anxiety comes from. And I'm realizing neurologically, it comes from two parts of the brain, the cortex and the amygdala. And I'm seeing why traditional talk therapy just doesn't work when it comes to anxiety. And it's really, really interesting. I'm going to be talking more about this later on in videos down the line. First I'm working on my own anxiety, and it's gotten a lot better in the 2 to 3 years that I've been working on it. It's so much better. My caffeine intake is a lot lower. I don't stress about things as much. Right now, currently, my father is in the hospital. He's not doing too well. When I go to see him, yeah, I get a little anxiety, but now when I see him in this bad condition, I don't resist it. I don't try to make the moment feel better. I experience it. And the more I experience it, the more I don't take it with me when I leave my dad. Of course, I still think about my dad who's in the hospital now. He's about to get a stent placed in his heart to open up his arteries because he's in congenital heart failure. But I'm looking at myself and I'm seeing the growth through doing these stretches daily, doing simple movement practices. And a lot of the times I'm just sitting in the chair stretching out my neck. Now, for me, again, I said most of the time, the negative sensations is in the back of my neck. So even right now, if I just take a second, I could feel it a little bit. And like I mentally just talk to it and tell it to let go. It feels a whole lot better. And I'm watching it do what it does. Like right now, it's working its way down to my traps. But I'm getting to feel these sensations in my body. So that's what this program is going to be about. I'm thinking about calling it Anxiety Release Breakthrough Program. Again, 4 weeks of stretches. I'm doing all the research, and I'm gonna be doing like little videos here and there for the program. It's not gonna just be stretches where I'm gonna be explaining why this works, what's actually going on in the body. And I'm doing my research, and the more I research, the more excited I get because the more it's proven what I thought to be true intuitively when I was working on these stretches and feeling my body in certain ways and realizing I was letting things go. So it's pretty cool. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. If you guys made it this far, I feel a whole lot better now since I started doing these stretches consistently. A lot of people ask me, this is more so because I am posting this to the YouTube channel as opposed to the Instagram channel. Because a lot of people, I get a lot of DMs saying, what stretches should I start with? How long should I stretch for? I always recommend just pick one stretch. Do that daily for 30 seconds to a minute. Start small and then feel the sensation that it creates. So like right now, even if you just take your ear to your neck, hold and breathe. And do your best not to get distracted. So feel the sensation. Because a lot of times people will do these stretches and they will like watch something or listen to something or listen to music. You're distracting yourself. You're taking yourself away from the experience by putting music in your ear, reading a book or listening to Audible. And that's something I used to do. I used to just distract myself and do things. But yeah, just do a stretch like that and then come back to regular. And right now you could observe. And this side definitely feels a little bit lighter. Pay attention to the sensation. Like right now I could actually feel my heart beating when I quiet down. So again, the idea of this channel is to start experiencing your feelings, not expressing them, not suppressing them. This channel is about healing. It's about release work. It's about letting go. I'm excited that I'm working on this program. I hope you guys have been enjoying the content. I feel like I'm getting better speaking to the camera because that's something I want to present myself in a good way, but I have to be more authentic. I realize that because the thing I used to do in the past before 2020, I used to put on this mask of I'm this charismatic, confident person, and I think we all are confident. We just forgot how to be. We've stored so much baggage in us, and we suppress so many things, and we let social conditioning hit us. And we have to see if it's all right with the group before we decide to be confident. Where my idea of being confident now is we're all confident. We just need to let go of what's holding us back. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Realize it's 22 minutes. Hopefully you made it through. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video. Please ask any questions. All right. See you at the next video. Peace.